Thank you very much, Diane. Thank you very much. And good morning, everybody, and good morning, Alish. We met last time we met was in May, just after I have launched my strategy against trafficking in human beings. And one important step forward since then, Diane, is your appointment. I'm very happy to have you here. And European Union once again has a dedicated anti-trafficking coordinator, a long-standing wish of many of our partners. I'm very glad to have you on board, Diane. Since we last met, Afghanistan collapsed and famine threatens the country. It's really a very dire situation in Afghanistan. We have also seen the Belarus regime tricking and trapping people at the EU border. Lukashenko is trying to sell tickets to the EU, which are not his to sell. And he's using human beings in an instrumentalized way. These events leave thousands of people vulnerable and at risk of exploitation and trafficking, so we must be vigilant. Trafficking is a terrible crime. A trafficker can sell guns or drugs once, but he can sell a woman's body again and again and again and again. As national rapporteurs, you are important allies in this fight. You help us identify new trends, define priorities, and measure results. Help design new policies. I'm very glad that you are joined this afternoon by anti-trafficking coordinators from the Western Balkans as well. Trafficking is an international threat. We can only fight it as an international community. That was my message 2 weeks ago in a statement I delivered to the UN General Assembly. And the Western Balkans are our closest neighbors and candidates for the EU membership. Police from EU member states and the Western Balkans already work closely together to fight trafficking of human beings. In joint action days last month, national law enforcement officers from the EU and Western Balkans joined forces to crack down on traffickers, coordinated by Europol and Frontex. They raid bars, brothels, nightclubs, nail bars, massage studios, and strip clubs. They closed a tight net around the traffickers by checking cars and passenger name records at airports. They arrested 212 suspects of trafficking in human beings, money laundering, pimping, and fraud. And they rescued victims of trafficking, 593 adults and 57 children. Posted at EU airports, officers recognized the danger signs of trafficking and saved a lot of children. This is just one example of many joint law enforcement actions since May against trafficking of human beings. The most powerful weapon against trafficking is legislation. It's now time to update the Anti-Trafficking Directive, which is 10 years old this year. Over the past 10 years, it had helped the fight against trafficking in many ways. For one, it led to the creation of this network of rapporteurs that you are a member of, and to the establishment of the Anti-Trafficking Coordinator. It provided for the first time a clear legal definition of trafficking in human beings. It criminalized trafficking in the entire European Union, not just the crime itself, but also incitement, aiding and abetting, and attempts to commit trafficking. The directive also introduced measures on prevention and assistance to victims, criminalization of services, and liability for legal persons. And it prompted member states to set up referral mechanisms to help victims find safety. But there is room for improvement, and you are well aware of that. You know this as well as I do. In this network, you contributed to progress reports over the past 10 years. First, there is a problem with turning law into practice. Many member states have trouble implementing the directive. When a victim is forced to beg, steal, deal drugs, then they should not be punished. When a perpetrator is brought to justice, the victim should not suffer in the witness box. We must protect the victims from reliving the trauma. We must always treat a child as a child, and we must always assist and compensate victims, even if they are too scared to cooperate with the authorities. The directive sets clear standards on these points, but some member states are not putting them into practice, and that must change. The member states can count on EU support to implement the directive, for example, with our funds. In the last 7 years, EU funds have supported member states to step up their fight against trafficking with €13 million. I'm pleased to announce we will release more funds next year and issue several calls for proposals. I want these funds to be used to full effect in the member states, to implement the directive, bring perpetrators to justice and protect victims. I also want to update the directive. First of all, I want the directive to provide even higher standards of protection to victims, especially children. Second, I want to end the culture of impunity and turn trafficking from a low-risk, high-profit crime into a high-risk, low-profit crime. It's time to consider tough sentences for traffickers in the entire EU. And it's time to think about criminalizing the use of victims. It's a crime in Europe to sell a trafficked woman's body. It's not a crime everywhere to use her body. Member states only have to consider criminalizing the knowing use of exploited services in the current directive. 15 member states criminalize service in only part. Only 10 member states consider it a crime. Trafficked women all deserve the same protection no matter where they are in the EU. Voluntarily is not good enough. In my view, using trafficked services should be a crime everywhere in the EU. We also must confront the growing threat of digital trafficking, like the so-called pocket money dating in Germany, which is the sexual exploitation of children online. In one case, a 20-year-old man met a 15-year-old girl in a dating app, a girl with family problems and mental health problems. He tricked her into prostitution, promised her lots of money, advertised her body online. Men used her in a car, and he took away the money. We need to update the directive also to deal with these digital threats. Today, I want to hear your opinion. How can we make the directive ready for the next 10 years? How effective do you think that the current directive is to fight and punish traffickers and protect and compensate victims? What do you think we need to do to better prevent and fight trafficking? Soon I will launch a public consultation, and I call on you all to take part. Civil society will certainly do so very actively. But I also need the voice of member states' lawmakers and law enforcers. So I ask you to answer our questions and spread the message. Now is the opportunity to shape EU anti-trafficking policy for the next 10 years. Don't miss this opportunity. I wish you a very successful conference. Thank you.